Hello and welcome. Today, or should I say tonight, we have a very extra special tutorial because we are blazing a trail here, folks. Now, I don't really watch Ableton tutorials anymore, but I have to bet that there's probably not a whole lot of tutorials on Collision. And Collision, if you look in here under Instruments, which is where all of Ableton's native MIDI instruments are, you will find Collision. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop Collision in here, and this will give us a MIDI track with a collision on it. And I want to talk about this device because honestly, I've fallen in love with it. It's not that I haven't known Collision existed. It's just that there's so many things to learn in Ableton that you're probably going to get around to operator and wavetable and sampler, which, by the way, I do have videos on those. But you're probably going to get around to those before you go to Collision. And it's one thing when you think about synthesizers and you think about waveforms and filters and envelopes and LFOs. You know, you can kind of see that, okay, maybe it's different in wavetable, but we still have filters, LFOs, we still have waveforms. You can kind of build up more of a framework. But Collision utilizes a form of synthesis. So yes, it is a synthesizer. It uses a form of synthesis called physical modeling synthesis. And what Collision is think about a marimba, or think about a xylophone, or a glockenspiel, which is basically a xylophone. I hope no glockenspiel folks are getting mad. I actually didn't know what a glockenspiel was. I thought it was like some sort of like German cuckoo clock or something, and then I realized, oh no, it could be anything but that. So basically, what you could call it is mallet percussion. Percussion can mean a lot of things. And, you know, it can be bongo drums, it can be a drum kit that a drummer would play, but it also could be all of the crazy things that exist in mallet percussion. And that's really what Collision does, is it does mallet percussion. And if you want to think about it, imagine you're about to hit a marimba or a xylophone or something. You're going to have a mallet in your hand, and you're gonna strike some sort of a bar or a beam or a membrane, and depending on how hard you hit the mallet, and depending what the mallet is made out of, because some mallets are made out of rubber, some are made out of like yarn that wraps the ball, some are like, I guess could be like metallic-y, I guess, and the different properties will make it sound different. And what these mallets will strike, they can be different types of physical properties that resonate differently. And so you get a really cool thing. And the reason why Collision works so good like this is because it has resonators. So these resonator devices here, they are different types of resonating objects. And what's unique about them is it gives it a very real sound. So like when you play a synthesizer and it's just hitting a note, it's very dry. Like you're not hearing anything that gives it like a warm acoustic space. So like you'll drop a reverb on it to do that. But a resonator is almost kind of like reverb, and that like sound bounces around and it reverberates, but it has this interesting quality. So we're going to dive right in. So you want to have your MIDI track and you want to have a collision dropped on it, and you want to record enable. And I'm just playing notes on my laptop keyboard. Now, this is just a good rule of thumb, guys. Go into your audio effects, and right now all I have on this MIDI track is Collision. Now, even the Collision and some other devices like Tension, which is another physical modeling synthesizer, they can get really ridiculously loud, really quick, and without warning. Tension especially so. So we want to put a limiter on here. So go into Audio Effects, go to Dynamics, and drop a limiter. I'm also going to go into EQ and drop an EQ8 because I'll be using it later. And I've already got some EQ rolled off, just so nothing plays below 50 hertz. I'm going to minimize this. And I always have an EQ8 and a limiter on here. So what a limiter does is if we play a note and it peaks, you know, it goes above this area, you have clipping. Now, clipping is not good because it doesn't sound good because it introduces digital distortion, which is not pleasing distortion. But it also can like harm. It can also harm your speakers. Like, not even kidding. I think like my first pair of studio monitor speakers, I think I blew out the tweeter, one of the tweeters, because that happened. So anyways, that's why you want to have a limiter. So whenever it does cross the threshold of clipping, the limiter knocks it back. So it basically saves your speakers. So if you were wondering what the limiter was, you're like, dude, what does the limiter doesn't do anything? It's got such a cool name like limiter. You're like, oh man, that's got to be a serious plugin. It's called limiter. And then you're like, what does it do? Limiters are very important, and they're very important when you're mixing your music. But with that, I digress. So if you didn't know about limiter, now you do, and you definitely needed to know about it. That's all I can say. And also, it's always a good idea to have just a little bit of compression. Just a little bit. This is what my default Ableton looks like. These settings are fine. I don't need a lot. I just want to reel it in a little bit. So we're going to start with collision, and right now we are going to hit a note, and this is what we have. And in fact, I'm going to come over here to reverb, and I'm just going to drop a little bit of a reverb on here just to give it a little bit more of a pleasing sound. How we got that acoustic space sound. It just sounds good. So collision has to have two components activated for there to be any sound. It has to have this section right here composed of mallet and of noise. And then it has to have one of these resonators activated. So if I play a note, but if I deactivate resonator 1, you're not hearing anything. Similarly, if I deactivate mallet, you won't hear anything because something has to strike it. So we're doing physical modeling synthesis. And because we're doing physical modeling synthesis, it's seeking to physically model the physical characteristics of physical real-world objects. So if there's no mallet to strike a resonator, there'll be no sound. Just like if a tree falls in a forest and no one's there, is there even a sound, y'all? You know, whatever that is. Put your comments below if you know about that thing. So you don't have to have mallet. You could actually do noise. And you can have both. And if you turn off resonator 1, you got nothing. So here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to explain to you my sound design playbook for collision. I am going to first come over here to resonators, and I'm going to pick something. And I'm going to tweak the parameters until it sounds good. I'm going to stick with plate because plate's one I don't use a whole lot, so I selfishly want to use it. But I'm going to make it sound good. So let's hit a note and see what it sounds like. First thing I do is adjust the mallet. That's just the volume. Now let's play with the I'm going to keep hitting and I'm going to tweak the stiffness, the noise, and the color. I like that because it sounds like rounder and fuller. Now let's do the noise. I'm going to lower the volume a little bit. Color. Didn't really do a whole lot. Now we've got this noise here, and if I bring up the noise, you have to click it up pretty hard. I'm going to turn off noise. Here's frequency. This is on a low pass frequency, which means it's cutting off all the frequencies up to here. So we're only hearing the frequencies from the really low up to like here. Oh, that probably hurt. Sounds good, doesn't it? So now I'm going to tweak the parameters because I'm kind of liking the sound of this, but now I'm going to tweak the parameters of the plate. So let's take this delay all the way down. Delay is how long it fades out. Kind of like when I talked about release. Once you hit, it's the trail. But in this, it's decay. Like, what is the decay? Now we're going to adjust the material. Sounds like you're almost hitting like a plate. Oh boy, it is a plate. But doesn't that sound like you're hitting like a dinner plate? Notice how it changes so much when we do that. Now let's go under here and click brightness. I actually kind of like how that sounds. It's very unique. Playing chords. By the way, if you turn up this noise oscillator, you turn up the sustain. Listen to this. It's giving you ideas, isn't it? I know it is. So we've got a tuner right here. So if we do shift down arrow, we're going to play down an octave. Look at that. We got like a drum. Look at that. And we didn't even have to go to membrane. We're going to stick on plate. I was like, I like that sound, but I want to know what it sounds like extended. Amazing, beautiful, I love it. So here's the thing. We're kind of done. Change the ratio. You just keep hitting notes and you play it. See what sounds good. What else can you do? Well, we can play, turn off noise, turn off mallet, and then only have a noise. Sounds better with both. Here's where I got to throw some caution into the wind. Resonator 2, turn it on and turn down the gain. So this gain is different for Resonator 1 and Resonator 2. So turn it down really low, because when you add a second resonator, what it basically says is we are taking our mallet and we are striking an object. In this case, we're striking a resonating plate. And that resonating plate is made up of physical properties. And it resonates and you hear the sound. But now that sound can get passed into Resonator 2. Now when you think about a marimba, you're hitting like a wooden beam, and then there's a pipe, you know, those pipes, and then the noise comes out of the pipe. So if we go into pipe, let's turn it off. Always helpful to A and B. And let's turn up the gain slowly, see what we get. Now let's turn off Resonator 2. Let's play with the decay. It can get really loud really quick, so just watch out. Now let's go over here to change the routing algorithm and see if it sounds better or not. I like that one better. 1 into 2 means the output of mallet and noise goes into Resonator 1 and then gets pushed out into the rest of the signal flow. But Resonator 1 will also get pushed into Resonator 2 and then pushed out if you have it on this. If you have it on 1 and 2, the output of mallet and noise will go into Resonator 1 and then get sent out, and then the output of mallet and noise will then also separately get pushed into Resonator 2 and then sent out as well, whereas doesn't. In that case, it does it differently. So let's play with this resonator number 2. Let's adjust the radius. And let's adjust the tuning. Let's make it go up. Let's make it go down. That kind of looks good. Gives it that nice body. Let's change the opening. Here's what's beautiful about collision. maybe you guys are like Mallet Percussion extraordinaires, but Ableton even says, listen, like you can tweak parameters and get sounds that like don't even exist on the planet Earth. Like, what is that? Now it sounds normal. So check this out. Like, listen to this sound. You know, like let's put some more delay or reverb. Now, what we can always do is we can always come into Resonator 1 and change it from plate to a membrane. Adjust the material. Let's give it some of that sustain. Put some release. Let's open up, right click, and insert an audio track. I'm gonna grab the audio from Collision, make sure it's record enabled, and I'm gonna click record. Wonderful. Now I'm going to insert a MIDI track, and I am going to go into... No, I'm not going to do simpler. I'm going to go into sampler, just because they got more options, and I'm going to turn all these off so we're only hearing sampler. Going to filter global, and I want to give this some attack. Give it, of course, release. I'm going to lower the sustain a little bit. So now I'm playing it multiple notes. I'm going to come in here to filter. I'm not going to use the low pass filter. I'm going to use this. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Let's go into audio effects. Let's go into modulators, drop in LFO. Click map it to the frequency, hit it. Too much, lower down the depth, lower the rate. Too much depth, give it a little bit of jitter so it isn't a perfect sine wave. Lower the rate some more, lower the depth some more. Come into here, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in, okay? We are going to loop it, and loop start, we're going to bring this in, we're going to add loop in, and we're going to give it some crossfade. Ooh, now we can hold it down indefinitely. Wonderful. So here's the thing, guys. Collision is very simple. I used Collision like 10 times, 10 or 15 times, and every time I was just like, man, I just ain't getting anywhere. And then it just clicked. Maybe it only clicked because I was supposed to tell you guys about it. So I hope you're having a good time. I hope you appreciated this. There's a part of me that wants to just keep messing around for like 1,000 hours, but I feel like this is a good place for you to start. I'm just going to open up a new MIDI track really quickly and just drag a default Collision on here to explain what we did. So basically, you're going to start off with one of these. Maybe you want pipe. Make sure you've got the right track enabled. You know, and you want to take the pipe and you want to dial in the mallet, dial in the noise if you want it. You know what I mean? And then you want to adjust the parameters of the pipe till it sounds good. You might want to play around with the tuning. Maybe adjust the decay a little bit. Play with the radius. That sounds good. Adjust the opening. Make sure you're aware that the noise can get really loud. Be careful with Resonator 2. Adjust these parameters of the pipe. If you don't like what I do is I basically adjust it till I make it sound good, and then sometimes I'll move on. Okay, we're doing marimba. Okay, that's way too much decay. Turn that down. Ooh, that sounds good down there. So basically you want to be playing around with these parameters until it sounds good. Maybe play with some noise. you can choose resonator 2. And just so you know, when you do resonator 1 and resonator 2, you will have separate controls over the gain. So you can always lower the gain big time on resonator 2 before you turn it on. And you can put it up. So right now this is only affecting resonator 2. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that. I was really nervous about making the collision tutorial, even though I've played with collision and some of the SDHOs. You know what I mean? I've used operator, I've used analog, I've used sampler, I've used wavetable like millions of times, right? So I'm pretty sure even if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to make a pretty good tutorial because I can just open them up and make easy, effortless, good sounding music. But like with collision, it's a little different because I'm not as experienced, even though I really like it. So play around with it. Always you can go in here and experiment with presets and just see like what people or what the Ableton devs came up with. Like, oh, let's see what pots and pans. See what the pots and pans. That sounds like the pots and pans. It is very good. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying that. Yeah, have a great one, guys. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a great night.